Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to February. On today's first show of the month, we've got love on the brain. Fern Lulham is here to give us the primer on what love is. Nutritionist Julia Karantjas is going to help us protect our hearts with heart-healthy foods. And Michael Babcock, he's showing love to wearables. Love it, folks. Now let's get at it.
This is Kelly and Company.
So I gotta say, we've got topics over the next couple of weeks working us up to Valentine's Day. We're calling it our Valentine's Bouquet. Just a variety of different topics brought to you by our contributors, by people involved with the show. Ramya Muthan's with me, and the person who conceived the idea to do the Valentine's Bouquet, Nazreen Abdel-Majid. Good day,
What can I say? I just love.
Okay, because I was going to interview a bit. Like, what was the inspiration behind this idea of a Valentine's bouquet, Nazreen?
I just, I get excited about Valentine's Day. I feel like everybody's in the spirit, just like any other holiday. So, and I feel like a lot of people have different perspectives of what love is and how it should be celebrated. Self-love is very important, and a lot of people don't focus on that. So that's a really prime highlight of it as well. So I'm excited. About Valentine Bouquet.
Yeah.
So, over the years, your excitement about Valentine's Day, is it shared by most people you encounter, or do they think, come on, you're going over the top? Like how's the reaction?
I don't go over the top. I really just used to celebrate with my girls, do like Galentine's Day type thing. But we never used to go over the top. I find it really interesting about how people view Valentine's Day, because to my parents, they say, oh, they don't celebrate Valentine's Day because every day is Valentine's Day to them. I'm like, please, I don't see flowers every day.
I was just going to say, do you agree, or do you say to them, come on, guys, tell me another one?
We spoke about this so many times, and I'm like, please don't influence Hamza about this, okay? I don't want him saying, oh, I didn't get you a gift for Valentine's Day because every day is quote unquote Valentine's Day. No, it should be, of course, you should love and cherish your partner every day, but it's different. It's very different.
And we're starting with advice very early.
I think it's a very Middle Eastern view. They just don't celebrate that type of thing.
I mean, yeah, and to be fair, a lot of us think Valentine's Day is just a nice excuse to, just like Halloween and everything else in my life, go and buy candy and chocolate and But Galentine's Day, well, to be honest, just kind of doing cutesy things for the sake of it is always nice, in my opinion.
It's fun, okay? It's to get your mind off of things. It doesn't have to be, a commercialized thing, in my opinion. I mean, yes, you see in grocery stores, just like you said, Halloween, like they pull out the decorations and everything months ahead just to get you buying, just to get you wanting more. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be a very commercialized spending money type of thing. Just to spend time with your partner, your girls, yourself even. Honestly, self-love is very important. As I said, it depends on how you view it.
So how do you feel people view it out on social media? You're a social media guru. And again, you had some great ideas when you called a meeting and said, I want to talk about doing this. And I know, you observe a lot of things. What is your feeling out there about spreading the same kind of viewpoint you have, as opposed to the doubters, every day's love, it should be every day. What do you see?
I see more of the girlfriends and the wives wanting Valentine's Day more than the guys, obviously. But I think it's funny. But it's very interesting at the same time. A lot of people, want to spend a lot of money on Valentine's Day. I don't think that's I don't think that's important. I don't think that's needed. I mean, of course, I would love some diamonds and expensive stuff, but it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't have to be cost of an arm and a leg just to spend a Valentine's Day. But on social media, I've seen so many funny reels and memes about it, how the girls are always wanting more about Valentine's Day and celebrating Valentine's Day, whereas the guys is like, it's just commercialized. It's just a reason to spend money. It's just like, any reason just to spend money on your wife or your partner. So it's just so funny how there's very different views on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what your view is and how things fall out over the next couple of weeks as we have different topics. And I know at times people will say, oh, you guys are stretching that bouquet with that topic, but that's what we're all about in these conversations on the show. So please, folks, remember to check out our podcast. If you can't be with us on AMI audio for the show or up on YouTube, check it out from your platform of choice and give us a rating and review. If you would like to subscribe to Kelly and Company on YouTube and, of course, on your favorite podcast platform.
What is love really? That's where we're getting started with the Valentine's bouquet. And if our bestie from the UK, psychotherapist Fern Lulham, can't help us answer this question, then we don't know who would. So Fern's here to kick things off. And Fern, maybe let's ask you, what makes you feel loved?
Oh, well, Ramya, you have just hit the nail on the head, because giving me compliments and making me feel like I can actually contribute something to the show, that's
absolutely, you are a
amazing.
Valuable presence.
Very, very much so. Making
words
me
of
feel
affirmation,
loved.
that's what we call that, right? Yeah.
That's what I live for. The ego needs it. Needs a bit of inflation.
Same, please.
You're pumping me up, so thank you for that. I just want to say it smells glorious in here with this Valentine's bouquet, and I'm so thrilled to be here with you all. And yeah, what is love? What a way to begin, right? We're beginning with a bang, right? So basically, love is different to everyone, isn't it? And I will throw this out to you in just a moment, so prepare yourselves to tell me what you think love is, because, it's a subjective thing. It's one of those things that, in therapy, people often throw out these ideas of, I just want to be happy, or I just want to be successful. And this is something we kind of talked about a little bit about before. What is that? What does that mean? I just want to be loved. What is love? Well, there is a very sort of vague definition, because, as you can imagine, it's not something you can just summarize right in a sentence. But love, it seems, needs to be something that isn't just a fleeting emotion. That's what kind of differentiates it from like lust, or, oh, this person's really exciting, or this person makes me laugh. If we love someone, it's a long-term committed thing. It lasts more than just a moment. And often there's lots of different emotions that are involved with that, but there's care, respect, there's compassion, and one thing that I think we'll probably come back to is acceptance of imperfections. That's very important, and want for somebody's well-being. So basically, the people that we love, we want them to do well, we accept that they're not always going to be perfect, they're going to make mistakes, and we just want to be there for them and look after them, keep them safe. So, as I promised, now I'm going to throw this out to you. Whoever wants to go first is fine. What do you think love is?
I think Kelly's been making himself an outsider in this conversation, so let's start with you, Kelly.
Keeping quiet. Unlike Kelly.
I think a lot of it is to me, like you said, Fern, the long term, but acceptance is really important, but knowing how to make someone happy because you enjoy making them happy. I don't mean, oh, you're a paid stand-up comic, you go and get on stage and make people but knowing the little things, caring about those little things for the people in your world, family, your partner. It's all those things, that the little things that you pay attention to, and there's no effort to do so.
The little things matter. I absolutely agree. Yeah. The little things matter, and they make you feel loved. As you mentioned, Fern, I totally agree with you about feeling respected and cared for. That's what I feel love is.
But what does that look like? Or what does that feel like?
Listened to, remembered. Maybe like and when I say that, if somebody loves you, they know, they go up, your coffee's ready. All right, whether it's your partner or a friend you go over and visit, it's important to them to remember. If you've had a friend for a long time, or like a family, it's not that dismissive, I don't care. Your son remembers, hey, mom knows I like it the coffee this way, and it's not just from routine and doing it, it's because it means something to do it right, to please the person. Is that maybe? And again, I understand there's different types. I understand we're talking different types of love here, not just romantic.
Yeah.
And that's true
but all
too.
kinds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And I was
go
gonna
on.
say, if you're talking about like influence from parents and family and all that, and just kind of things that were modeled to you, in my family, it's always any kind of act of kindness, or when you can take something off someone else's plate, that feels like love to me. I think that that's genuinely like growing up. If somebody did something before I got to it, or was able to say, okay, I'll do that so you don't have to, just whatever it is, and sometimes without even voicing it, if they were able to get a task done, or I don't know, do something without you having to ask them, that feels like love to me. And Kel, definitely the whole being remembered thing, because I remember if we said something in the house, like, oh, I'm craving something, or yeah, I really loved that Tim Hortons whatever coffee that I had 2 weeks ago, my dad would bring it for you, like he would bring it without having said it, or without you having asked him directly, and that always felt like love to us, and it also felt like being spoiled, but that's love. Spoil
and
me.
I think some people, especially with their kids, and we get into this kind of thing when we talk with Lucia about it, the spoiling people, like, siblings will say, hey, they spoil you, you're so spoiled at home, mom and dad do this and that, but it's that want to by them to take care of their children, and we all get it, we all know that, and I feel that's where that understanding of making a difference just by simply even just being listened to. And for some people, it's more than others.
Sitting and having
a
conversation.
Yeah,
feels like
or
love
just that,
oh, you
remembered I said that. Not, oh, would you tell me that once again? Because really, when you told me the first 5 times, I didn't care.
Yes. Well, this is, I suppose another way to look at it is, what are the things that don't make you feel loved? And I imagine a lot of them would be the very opposite of what we've been saying here, So like you said, Kelly, if someone's looking at their phone while they're talking to you and they're not really, they're only half paying attention, when they're going, and that means I have no idea what you're saying, right?
And dismissed.
And that's the physical act of what they're doing, but actually what they're doing is, like you said, not seeing you in that moment, not kind of understanding you and treating you like you matter. And I think that's the heart of it. We want connection and we want this sense of belonging, and I think what that comes from is somebody affirming that we have worth to them, that we matter to them, and that we're important.
Yeah. And then what is, like, we've all kind of brought up stories or impacts of romance versus families, especially like parents and kids, but what is platonic love? Can we talk about what that is? I feel like this is a bit of a trendy word or concept nowadays.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I suppose here we're sort of talking about friendship, but I suppose we could also include colleagues, or, there's so many different types of relationships that you can have that might encompass love. You might feel like you love someone. And I mean, I'm interested to ask all of you, do you think you look for different things in terms of feeling loved or loving others differently in platonic love than you would maybe with your families?
Oh, for sure. Families are like a whole different ballgame compared to your friends, right? Or your romantic partner.
Elaborate, Romeo, in what way?
Yeah, explain.
It's like how Nasreen earlier said, a cool mom and dad, like you say, love is, what'd you say? Like, love is something to be celebrated every day. So you don't need Valentine's Day. But she's like, but don't bring that to me and my husband, because my husband better be giving me gifts on Valentine's Day.
Exactly.
You know what, Nasreen? I would be saying to in fact, anyone who's listening who has a partner that says Valentine's is every day, go up to them every day and demand a gift, because if every day is Valentine's Day,
exactly. Exactly. And I tell my dad, I'm like, I don't see flowers and chocolate or whatever type of gift every day. And then he's like, yeah, but I love for her every day. And I'm like, I get whatever.
That's sweet.
Don't bring that over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I find it so sweet, the surprises that I do find that sometimes, like, my dad would bring a flower like every couple of weeks to my mom as a surprise. Aww. And I just love that. That's what love is. It's just like, you don't have to ask for it. It's just given to you.
Yeah, you just
that's
see
another
it, and
way.
it's just done. And it's just what did they used to say? A token. Just a little token.
Yeah.
It's not
appreciation. Yeah.
But I used to find it interesting when you talk about people, kids especially, when people talk about their siblings, how close they are or whatever. But I think about going to a place like the blind school and how you're with these people all the time. and you defend some people because they may, you know, they may be your friend or something going through a bad time. You see people go through a lot of things, which brings up almost like a sibling closeness, and some might say a love with certain people or what have you in that. And I think that's definitely, obviously, you know, you're hanging out with your buddy, you become to care about if he falls down, hurts himself, you know, but you don't love them. It's, you know, in the same sense of a relationship, but you have that relationship that is there to care about. They mean something, and you generally care, and it's a sustained thing. You know, even if it's the 4 or 5 years, 10 years you're maybe in school, you go off to college, go different ways, things may change, they may not. You may keep in touch. But I think when you're in a residential school like at W. Ross, where I went, it's a bit different. But most people, I think, will say that they had people they were closer to than their own siblings, possibly.
Sure.
Maybe cousins
I'm sure
that they're
that's
closer
true.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times the word friend, people feel like that's not enough to describe this person to me, because this, like you say, Kelly, actually, you know, family love and particularly, I suppose, romantic love is, you know, it's sort of prioritized often in lots of societies as like the ultimate. That's what we're all striving for the most.
Of course.
And yet our
different.
friends can sometimes be the most important people in our lives, and it just feels like such a throwaway term. And you know, a friend can be everything from somebody that you've met a couple of times that you go for coffee with, to somebody who literally feels almost like your life partner, you know, not in a romantic way, but in a platonic way, but is that important.
100%. The friends that you share history with and pasts with, where like you're not the same person you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but they know you and they've come through the rubble with you sometimes. Those friends can mean more to you than anybody that you meet today, or even your family who doesn't know these sides of you or who weren't there to pick up the same kinds of pieces, right? Like I have girlfriends that literally know me in ways that only upon reflection I get to know myself, but they got to see those sides of me, which is just like, you know, it gives me chills to think about like the kind of closeness that you can share, bonds that you share with people over the years.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful. And that makes me wonder, Ramya, do you express that to them? Do you ever tell them how much they mean to you in that way?
Now more than before, Fern, because that's a fair question. Like sometimes when you're going through, I don't know, like we talk about when you're teenagers, you're rebellious, or, you know, your parents put up with the certain sides of you. That kind of thing I'd say was true for my friendships as well. Like there are years when I definitely know I did not appreciate the kinds of friends that I've had. And now I can say, wow, thanks for being here, you know, when I was like that. And friends do that with me as well. Like friends that you've known forever who now can appreciate differently than you did before, because as you get older and wiser and all that stuff. But
I think
you're right,
people
like
are uncomfortable to express as if if it's going to be taken the wrong way.
But girlfriends, like, you know, close bonds and close girlfriends, and especially authentic friends that you've known for years, I think that there should come a time when you can openly talk about these kinds of things. If you've gone through it for so long, then you know it's worth it. It's worth it to have that kind of depth of conversation.
Well, yeah, and that's interesting. You know, you talk about girlfriends there. It's interesting how sometimes there is almost like a gender split here between, you know, what males and females are traditionally expected. I mean, how easy do you find it, Kelly, to express feelings of love to your friends, to your family, to anyone?
Well, my parents have always raised me very much to be very loving, very caring, obviously understanding what kind of love it is. Like, you know, this is not your partner, this is not your family members, but that you're not always going to have as much care or love for a family member because you're just not close. That hasn't been built or become innate in you. And then I know as a kid, I used to be very envious of my friends that talked a lot about their cousins or whomever in their life, you know, that they were close to. And I'm going to say that term as opposed to love. And that, even though now I know that they were talking about love for their friend, and that because I always felt, or their family member, I always felt that my siblings and I, close enough, but not close enough. And people would say, well, you know, maybe you're because you're the baby of the family. No, we were just not that way. My dad used to say, I notice you guys seem to have closer bonds with your friends than with each other. And it used to kind of bother him.
And sibling rivalry is a whole different ballgame.
Well, I think you
Sibling
get fed up
dynamics.
and later on you appreciate them differently. But then that's like also your pets and so on. When people say, you know, I love my dog and stuff, and some people who aren't kind of innate to that, it's like, what the
That's
heck
just
are you talking about?
unconditional. And I don't love anything or anybody as much as I love my dog.
Now
Like, I
we've
can't-
got onto the real stuff.
Yes, thank you. Thanks,
Yeah,
Karen.
like
You know how
loving a
it is.
sport or something.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah,
the same.
when it comes to
Absolutely.
siblings, though, I agree. Me and my sister will bicker for a few minutes, and then we'll get back to talking normally, like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
If we have a fight, we get back to talking. We don't even have to apologize to
That's
each
so
other. No,
good.
we'll just
Sweet.
get back to normal, and like, you know, we'll call each other names, and then the next minute we'll be like, okay, let's go out for coffee tomorrow.
Yeah, we're done with that. Let's move on.
Yeah. You don't
I
have to
think
say
this is-
anything.
This is so interesting, though, because it brings up this subject of perceiving other people's relationships. Like you just brought that up, Kelly, about looking at other people and being like, oh man, I wish I had that. Is it that true, though? You know, are they that close? Are they that happy all the time? I think
True.
especially with romantic relationships, we're talking about Valentine's Day.
God, yeah.
How often do we see couples on Instagram looking lovey-dovey, like they have the most romantic love
my
life in the
God.
world? Are they arguing after they took that selfie? I'm not so
Right.
sure. I'm a bit skeptical about that.
Grass greener
I
over
hear
there.
lots of stories in therapy
I'd put my
about
money
truth.
on it. I would definitely put my money on it. Fern, that's so nice. We got to wrap up the chat. So tell us something we can take away, you know, to keep our hearts all warm. And fuzzy.
Yes. Well, I'm just wondering, because we haven't mentioned self-love, so I just want to quickly bring that in, because I know, Nisreen, you mentioned that earlier, and it's one that people struggle with the most. So I'm wondering if we can just go round and each say one thing that we would like to promise ourselves to promote a bit more self-love in our lives. So I'll go first. I will say I'd like to have a bit more faith in myself. I don't think I, believe in myself enough. Anyone else?
Yes.
That's a good one.
That's a good one, and I want to steal it from you because I feel like I feel the same way. I don't have enough faith in myself, and that really it brings down my confidence, and that needs to change.
I'd like to just take it easier. You know, a lot of the time I think we do things or present ourselves in ways just to make sure that others are satisfied with our image. But then you'd rather be doing something else or being somewhere else, or you want to cut down on this or do more of that. And I think for me, like, I just want to stop overthinking about those things and just be. So be a bit more present.
Yes.
I think for myself, a lot of it is recognize the things you do right. I know there's times in my life that I've like kind of just focused too much on what's a problem, what I'm not doing right, what I need to improve on, instead of saying, yeah, but hey man, you do this and then you do that. That's helpful.
Yeah.
That's a positive thing.
Positive
Remember when
self-talk.
you never did that? Yeah, instead of beating yourself up constantly, because in our society, well, I've got to be better. I've got to, recognize the things and add them up and say, hey man, I'm not doing so bad there, and move forward.
Beautiful.
This has been so therapeutic, Fern. Thank you.
That's what I hope for. And lots of love to you all. Have a wonderful Valentine's.
You
Thanks,
too.
Fern.
Yeah. Psychotherapist Fern Lulham kicking off our Valentine's bouquet with lovey-dovey content leading up to February 14th. We got more coming your way, though, on this Wednesday. We're featuring your romantic horror stories, aka blind dates for some of us. So send us your misery, because we want to feature it on air along with ours and with Jenny Bovard, because she's got stories.
Yes.
And be as comfortable and open as you want to be, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, we don't want it too gory or whatever, but also things lead to other things. Maybe it leads to something that was so positive or cool afterwards. So hopefully you'll be comfortable to share that with us as well when we get into those conversations. And we have other ones coming up through the next couple of weeks, as Nisreen has plotted out some things for us to talk about. You can always email us, kellyco@ami.ca. But we'd love to hear your voice. You can always give us a call. Make sure it's mentioned so people know where to direct it to. 1-866-509-4545. We'd love to hear from you.
And from love to hearts, how can we protect our hearts? Better nutrition, of course. And nutritionist Julia Karantjas has us covered. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you.
I'm so excited to have you.
Theme.
Yeah, I know. I was like, this is connected. I love it. I love it. Let's stick to the theme. And I'm always excited to have you on, Julia, because I'm always learning something new. So let's get straight into it, shall we? Are there foods that we can eat that are good for our hearts?
Yeah. You want to take care of your heart. If you Google heart health or what you can do for heart health or protect your heart, all of the number one hits are all dietary. So you can eat your way to a healthy heart, which is nice because people like to eat. It's emotional. So, we could dive into this further. What would that entail? Healthy fats, which is fun because we just talked about that last week, flaxseed, all of the unsaturated fats, and fiber. Fiber is always a tricky one.
Fiber.
It's hard to always fiber. But, our heart serves our whole body, the whole body. It's so important. Probably,
I love that.
It's
line.
The most.
Yes.
So you want to take care of it, and you can do that by eating. So I think it's a great spot to put your focus on, feeding it fiber. So you want to be consuming, more than 20 grams of fiber a day. 25 is nice. And so paying attention to that. And you want to be consuming those healthy fats, and those are going to be very important. So fruits and vegetables, we come back to those always. Fruits and vegetables have the micronutrients, antioxidants, minerals, vitamins, all of the tiny things that your body needs to function. And so having a variety of them is always a good idea. But now you also know that it's extremely important for your heart. And then the unsaturated fats, things we talked about last week, olive oil, right? Salad, olive oil, drizzle on top of food. You have a big plate of hummus, drizzle a tablespoon of olive oil on top while you dip your pita into it.
That sounds
so good.
Yes.
It's right.
It's such a natural
avocado.
way to grab it. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And like avocado too. I mean, if you don't like the taste of avocado, you can put it into something or mix it into something. It doesn't have a very strong flavor. And I get that the texture maybe is not for everybody, but the flavor is so mild that you can hide it, which is nice. So you could blend it into things, you can mix it into things. And if you like it, then you just eat it as it is. You can use it, when it's soft enough and ripe enough, you can mash it on bread in place of a mayonnaise, put some salt and pepper, mashed avocado.
Avocado.
Oh, it's amazing.
Okay.
Avocado toast is
huge.
Yeah.
So, right? With an egg, Bremya. We love our eggs.
Absolutely.
And
Fried
that used to be the one that they'd say was the hardest on the heart. Oh, don't eat too many eggs. You know what's interesting, Julia, is I've always found the thing we talk about the most of improving on is our tummies, and then we hear about what not to have for your tummy that could be problems, or your heart. It's great to have this conversation because we don't hear enough of what is good for the heart, except obviously fitness, exercise, but a lot of us growing up, it's don't do that. That'll be hard on your heart. The cholesterol,
yes.
Yes. Oh, always focusing on the negative, what not to do, what not to do, what not to do. But then people are left directionless, and there's no tangible action points that anybody leaves with, which is I don't think is very productive. And so that's it's nice to change the conversation instead of saying don't eat this because it's bad for your heart. Just say, okay, well, let's eat this because it's good for our heart or whatever. You can.
So actually, can we elaborate on that? What does a heart healthy meal plan look like? Can you walk us through like a sample meal day?
Yeah, sure. So you'd want to start with breakfast. I would include fruit at my breakfast. It is hard to get, 6 to 12 servings of fruits and vegetables. So if you have at least 2 each meal, you're getting the minimum. So I would always be mindful to be having a fruit and veggie every time you eat. So I would include fruit. I would include a fibrous fruit. An apple is a great option with the skin on. A piece of whole grain toast. So something that still has a fiber content as opposed to, white bread where the bran's been stripped.
Starchy.
So something with, and then, you could do, if you like peanut butter, you could do peanut butter. If you like egg, you could have it with an egg. So something with that fat. If you like avocado, you could smear it with avocado and an egg, and that's a great start. The egg also gives you protein, which is very helpful. Your snack could be hummus. Legumes are very beneficial because they're giving us a lot of fiber, but also protein. Protein's not, great for your heart, but you do need it in the day for so many other things. So you want to make sure you're getting it in. So let's say hummus and carrots, hummus and whole grain crackers, or both, all of the above. And then lunch, if it's summertime and you want to have something cool, this is an opportunity to have a salad to get in a lot of your fibrous veggies, lettuce, maybe it's a broccoli salad, maybe it's a coleslaw with cabbage. And then your dressing here can be olive oil. You could also sprinkle flaxseed on your salad, or chia seed. That's also an option. Or walnuts. Walnuts in salad is really common and it goes really nice. So this would be a great time to stick in all of these healthy fats, which we know are good for the heart. So you could have walnuts, berries. Walnuts and strawberries, you're getting antioxidants, which is really nice. And then if you want to have a snack in the afternoon, you can do so here. Again, look for something with some fiber in it or some protein, and then berries, protein, and fruit. So Greek yogurt and berries, Greek yogurt and an orange or a pear, for example. They don't travel well. So if you have to go out of your home for work, sometimes pears get very messy. But again, you're getting a bit of fiber there. And then dinner, sweet potato with the skin. Again, it's important when, there's, avocado, you're not eating the skin. Squash, you're not eating the skin. But when you can't eat the skin, there is good stuff in there. So
it's still quite a new concept for a lot of us.
And how is that also when it comes to things like lemons and stuff like that, where you can swallow the seeds, where you're so brought up saying, no, don't do some of those things that are good. But because you don't know, because twice now you've said apple, skin on, and sweet potato.
Skin on. Yes. I've never heard anything about the seed specifically being good for anything. Right. So I don't want to comment on that.
Skin is a big part of the conversation now.
Right. You don't need to skin everything or peel everything. That's maybe a nicer word there.
For you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if anybody can relate. But when I overeat, I feel like heaviness in my chest sometimes. So does how we eat, like portion sizes, play a role in maintaining like a healthy heart?
That's a good question.
Well, portion size is important because within that portion size, you're getting dosages of the things that are good for your heart. So if you're under eating, you're not getting enough of anything. Legumes, there's been studies showing legumes, you eat 1/4 or 3/4 of a cup of a legume, like cooked lentils, for example, so lentil soup, and you can reduce your bad cholesterol by 5%.
Wow.
So
that's great.
So there are, there's a lot to dive into there. So, like Nazreen, to your
like
point,
protein.
portion sizes.
Because you said if you need it, the heart needs it, the body needs it, but it's one of those things you wouldn't want to overdo because of the problems, but you can't not have because heart does need that, the body needs it, and hopefully you eat the right amount so the body takes what it needs and you're nowhere's left with too much.
With the heart too, it's a complex conversation because it's not just about the food. There's also exercise and lifestyle. There's also when you're exploring, like if you're having pains in the heart, or even if you just had a heart attack or is suspected to have a heart attack, they're exploring many causes, right? Like, was it a blood vessel thing? Was it blocked arteries? Was it the actual functioning of your heart and any like issues with the heart itself? So there's so many like extra complications similar to diabetes, right? Like where it's not just your sugar levels. There's a billion other things that have to be considered. So when you I appreciate that you take on this topic because we have a lot to learn about when it comes to what exactly heart health and maintenance is.
Yes. Well, that's a great word there, Ramya, with maintenance, because there are lots of things that are beyond people's control. Genetics, for example, also environment, maybe your work environment, toxins in the air, pollutants, chemicals that you're exposed to due to, like your work circumstances that are kind of beyond your control. I mean, not everybody can just quit their job and work, wherever they want. But then there's things that you can do daily on a maintenance level to just put yourself in the best position possible. So to not further harm.
And a lot of people, of course, if you've had any heart incident, stroke or heart attack, you're afraid to do certain things because, and fitness is one of those things, when a lot of times they will tell you, no, and they'll clear you for that if there was something particular, but in generally more cases, they want you to get out there and strengthen that heart through the fitness and the good eating you're talking about. Like I was saying about the proteins, your body should be if you're not overeating it, it will discard what it doesn't need. It will utilize. So you shouldn't be in a place of overdoing it in your heart. But that was always for years. The red meat lovers. Oh, you're having too much. It's hard on your heart.
I know. It's so fascinating. And there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's so much to dive into with the saturated fat and brain health and like protecting your brain cells. And
that stomach.
That's where that red meat. But I mean, overeating is tough on the body, just in terms of an energy standpoint and a digestive standpoint. I mean, if you are putting too much in your stomach that your body isn't able to digest, it does, physically it's uncomfortable. But then if you've got all this undigested food, it can lead to, I mean, obviously sometimes people get flatulent, but it can cause problems in the stomach. And eventually some inflammation happens in the body. And so this is sort of a long-term thing. So, I mean,
because you have medications now that are doing that to you, right? They slow down your digestion so you feel longer and don't eat as much. But then, like you said, you have that, what's the timing? Because if you can't have that stuff all sitting there in your stomach, how does it affect someone going in for a surgery? Do you start now telling people you can't eat after 6 o'clock at night instead of midnight because you're having a procedure and your stomach needs to be empty because they may be on something.
It needs to clear.
They may be on a medication that is helping them not be so hungry.
Well, when you take me to a all-you-can-eat sushi, I can't help but overeat, guys. So
you're signing up,
once in a while, right? And you're willing to take that on
for the pain and the suffering afterwards.
And that's once in a while, so she makes the exception.
Yeah, exactly.
Once in a while, whatever that means to you.
Not weekly, not daily.
Like once a week.
Julia, no pain, no gain.
That's so funny. I was gonna say, like,
you take an enzyme.
Yes. Right, exactly. You prepare, duh.
Good old digestive.
Yes.
But when you're having digestive issues, or when you're having, like, I don't know, certain parts of your body or systems of your body will show up in symptoms, right? So you can say, like, I'm not feeling well after eating this thing, or I'm not feeling well because I worked too hard at the gym and now my muscles are sore, that kind of stuff. But with the heart, like, it's the first thing they check. If you have to end up in the emergency or call an ambulance, it's the first thing they check, make sure your heart is okay, and then start weeding out the symptoms of different things. But it's one of the last things that you may be aware of, right? Like, are we checking our hearts? Like now with wearables and stuff, you can kind of check your heart rate and it can detect arrhythmias and such, but we're not really sure on a day-to-day basis how our heart's doing, right? Like, it's not symptomatic.
It's so true. Right.
Like blood pressure, perhaps.
It's very scary.
Blood pressure, even you're waiting until something is terribly wrong before you go and get your blood pressure checked. But you have no idea
how your arteries are or anything like that.
We have no idea. Like, until it becomes an actual medical issue, we're just kind of hanging out. Yeah,
I know. And it's so scary. And hard things happen so fast.
But it starts early in life if your habits start creating those problems,
can play a role.
Or whatever, right? And you don't know. Wow.
Thank you so much, Julia.
Thanks, guys.
Time flew by. That's for sure. That was Julia Karantjas, our nutritionist, telling us how to protect our hearts. And she joins us every week, keeping us healthy, I might add. Yeah. We are going to jump to social media, guys, because we got updates. I would like to give a shout out to Silent Soldier 98 on Instagram for always showing us some love on our Instagram page. And we really appreciate your love and support, because is always commenting and loving our posts, and we appreciate that. We appreciate that, and it reminds us that our work is actually important. So love that. It makes us feel loved. Exactly. So we actually threw a Twitter poll question at you guys last week, and we were asking you guys, what's your go-to hot chocolate topping? And we gave the options of marshmallows, whipped cream, chocolate shavings, and other. 75% of you guys said marshmallows, and 25% of you guys said whipped cream. And we don't need to get into details of what me and Remya love, because we already exposed ourselves.
Don't you want people to know? Don't you want people to know that's like looking at Uber Eats and saying, I think I'll get an ice cream, and all the things you can add to it is what they would have? Oh, yeah, chocolate chips, that's good. Nuts, that's great.
Let's just say our other category was long. It was a long
ridiculous.
List.
Obscene.
It was a long
They
list.
call it obscene, folks. Whereas Kelly just went for the little marshmallows, right? That was all.
But it's nobody for chocolate shavings, though?
No,
nobody for chocolate shavings. I was surprised.
I don't trust
really
chocolate
loved the
shavings.
Candy cane shavings.
See, I don't.
That was good.
No, chocolate ones. I always worry they're the cheap ones, so they're gonna frig up the flavor of the chocolate. You know, the chocolate that kind of.
It's just gonna melt right in with the other chocolate.
No,
exactly.
It
melts too fast that you feel like you don't have enough on your.
Guys,
it'll take over.
You gotta layer
appropriately. It'll poison it.
You put your marshmallows in first, because the marshmallows act as a barrier between that and everything else. Correct. And so even they'll start sinking slowly, but eventually, initially they are a floating device. Yes. And then you add your chocolate shavings and your whipped cream and stuff on top of that, right? But you can put your whipped cream and then add the stuff onto your whipped cream.
Yeah, because your chocolate to me will still melt due to the heat of it. So I don't know. I don't love it. All depends on the chocolate. I'm not going to say I'd turn it down.
And the whipped cream's cold. So, put your shavings on there.
So Kelly, you don't like
mathematical.
You don't like
it's
any
not
topping?
A black and white thing. No, it's not a black and white thing. If you gave me a hot chocolate, there's some chocolate, there's some, I'm not giving it back. You're not getting it back. But I'm saying for myself, going chocolate sprinkles, I'm kind of I don't know. Even your darn old candy cane flavor. I'm not a huge mint person, but I'm certainly not giving you back your cup. If you're silly enough to give it to me and put all that junk on it, I'm going to sit there and say, my God, you can tell who made this, Nisreen, as I'm drinking.
Well, don't judge the sugary mess until you try it, because Nisreen and I did try it, and we got into a sugar coma for 3 hours after that, but it was still
that wouldn't even happen to me.
It was so worth it. So worth it.
That would never happen. I would just, oh God, next cup. Nisreen, anything else on social media we should know about?
We are good, but if you want to connect with us on social media, you can follow us at Kelly & Co. AMI on Twitter and Instagram.
Nice.
Good. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Rings, watches, and bands of other kinds have a permanence in our lives, ladies and gentlemen. We could never have imagined this. Well, maybe the tech guys have imagined that, a particularly guy familiar to us. Michael Babcock is here to talk about wearables with us. Michael, welcome back.
Thank you. A little bit of everything on my hot chocolate with some peppermint schnapps, just saying.
Oh, geez. Yes. And that can float to the bottom and all through it and everything. Oh,
it's a whole meal out of the deal, right?
Yeah, that's right.
For the peppermint haters like me, do you have any alt schnapps we can add?
Just throw some Kahlua in there. That works.
True.
Coffee and hot chocolate.
Yes. Bailey's.
Kahlua. Bailey's, maybe Kahlua. I like the idea of the Kahlua for sure. How are you using wearables, especially if you're doing like these two and bulking up on enough sugar that they go into that coma? Their watch might be able to say, that's enough.
So it's funny. I'm going to talk about Apple Watch here in a minute, but the sugar talk, I figured we got to add this in for relation. Yeah. Listeners of the show and some of you on YouTube know that in June of 23, I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and thankfully I've got my A1C back under 6. So that's positive.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
But one of the first things my doctor said is, Michael, I need blood readings from you 5 times a day. And I said, okay, I got no problem with doing this. And then I get home and I'm like, Mallory, how do I do this?
Yeah.
Are you available 6 times a day to take it?
Yeah, exactly. And write it down and keep note of it. Although some of the tech we'll talk about in a minute could have helped with that. But she reached out to my doctor and said, hey, can we get him on a CGM, continuous glucose monitor? So I now use a Dexcom, which is wearable technology. See where I went with that?
Yes.
And the Dexcom, what it does is it will constantly, I think it's every couple of minutes, it gets a reading of your glucose and then sends that data back to your phone, or you can attach it to your Apple Watch and send that data to your Apple Watch and everything will sync up once you're close. So that's one piece of wearable technology.
I got a friend who has turned off the alerts. I said, what? When he told me that the other day, I turn off the alerts. It gets to be, will you quit? I said, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Go ahead, Michael.
So Dexcom is very very needy when it cannot get a connection with your phone. And about 2 months after we got the Dexcom, my son lost his phone at the fair. Yes, we found it, but he lost it at the fair and I wanted him to have a phone. So I gave him my phone and he brought it back to me about 2 hours later and said, Dad, I never want your phone again, because Dexcom didn't have a connection. So he was just getting alerts.
Oh my God.
So
that's pretty funny.
The Apple Watch is a big piece of my wearable technology that I think about. I don't think about the Dexcom, even though I wear one every day, but the Apple Watch is on my wrist from the minute I go to bed to a little bit before I go to bed so I can charge it up. So this morning, at 5:30 in the morning, my Apple Watch tapped me on the wrist multiple times. I said, I don't want to deal with you right now. So I flicked to snooze on the screen. And then 9 minutes later, still not sure why it's 9 minutes, I got another tap. And at that point, I got up and then dismissed my alarm from my wrist and got a notification of the fact that I had X amount of notifications that were waiting for me. A couple of minutes later, I got another notification from Sleep Plus Plus, which gave me a recap of the amount of sleep that I got and in what stages I was in that sleep when I was calculating that over my Apple Watch. And all of that is done from a device that is a computing device on your wrist. It allows you to capture all of that data and then send it to people who might need it or physicians to help make informed decisions.
Yep.
That's what I like.
It's very, very impressive in how much
really
it can
is.
track and how much information you have like in real time. How much of it is important to you or actually practical for you?
For me, so my mom passed away at just past her 40th birthday due to heart-related issues. And so I appreciate having, even though it may not be the most accurate data or all of the data I need, I have something on my wrist that is monitoring to tell me if there's anything that I need to be concerned about with my heart. And thankfully right now I have not. But I think that data right there is enough to make the Apple Watch worth it for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I get that. I mean, trusting in the accuracy, Michael, tell us about that for the people out there saying, are these devices, can they be really ever truly accurate? We know better to suggest it replace a doctor or, a scan in the hospital.
I think it's less about the accuracy and more about the using the data that's being captured in conversations with your physician, because that can make a big difference. That they might notice something that to the Apple Watch software doesn't seem concerning, but when they're reviewing the data that you have, they might say, hey, we should watch this a little more. I want you to come in 3 months instead of 6 months.
Well, it's just way more information than what you could provide them without the Apple Watch, right? Like if you're talking symptomatically, you probably have a fraction of what this thing can tell the doctor to begin with, to even start noticing anything.
And you can. Yeah. I was going to say, you can capture that content on your Apple Watch using apps like Just Press Record or Drafts. And that will allow you to say, hey, today I didn't feel very good when I got out of bed and I got lightheaded in the afternoon. And then you and your physician or someone else can go back and look at that data and say, oh, this might be why. Maybe we should look at monitoring your blood pressure more or other items. And just having all of that data on your wrist right there is amazing. And then you can set up reminders and say, hey, remind me to bring this information up to my doctor the week before your next doctor's appointment. So just having that integration is pretty helpful.
For sure. Anything particular, though, that you find easier to use, not easy to use, or prefer with your setup, with your use of it so much? You probably have some hints for people, too, of, hey, this is how quick this can happen. This is where people can use it. What about the size of the screen, for example, Michael? You have a preference?
So I used to use what my wife and I lovingly refer to as a baby watch, because it was the smaller Apple Watch SE, and she's used an Ultra for probably since just after they came out, an Apple Watch Ultra, and she upgraded to the 2 because that's how it happens in my family. The tech person gets the leftovers and she gets the new things. But she upgraded to the Ultra 2, and I ended up with her Ultra, and honestly, I can't go back to a smaller watch anymore because that big screen does make a difference to be able to quickly navigate around the screen, find the icons, tap on what you need. So
agreed.
The other factor is the Ultra and the Ultra 2 have a button opposite of the crown and the side button called the action button. And I forgot about this until I got her watch. Well, that action button can be assigned to shortcuts. So I used to have a shortcut because I had a 15-minute break and I had to be back after that 15 minutes. So I used to have a shortcut on my Apple Watch as a complication that I would tap on it and it would start running a count up timer. So it would give me 14. Well, actually, I think it was set to like 13:30, and it would let me know when that timer was up so I could run back upstairs and go back to my office and make sure that I was signed in and everything ready to go. Now with the action button, I think it would be easier to just hit that and then that shortcut run. Although we're going to talk about something here in a minute briefly that I think with the use of shortcuts and action buttons and complications, the Apple Watch could become your wrist-worn memory assistant.
Wow. Okay. And how, again, because we know AI is creeping in everywhere, is that associated with what you're utilizing this way, that way, checking on you, or keeping track? Yeah.
So Apple Watch, the battery's still horrible. And I mean that I get about a day and a quarter of the Apple Watch of the battery on the Ultra 1. So I got intrigued by this device that I'm going to hold up here, and it's a wristband. And this is the B wrist-worn smart assistant. It can pop out of the band here, and it's this little rectangle device with a single button on it that you can use to engage with the device, and it has a 7-day battery life.
Wow.
You can wear it around. Yeah, you can wear it around your wrist or put it in this little clip here that I'm also holding up that you can clip it to your shirt pocket or something, and that will allow you to always have the B on you. It charges via USB Type-C, and it takes about 2.5 hours to charge it up. The most impressive part about this is it's $49. You're not going to find an Apple Watch for that price. What the B does is, you can set it up to process conversations. And by that, number one, I got a little creeped out because I don't know when it's listening unless I open the app. And not that I have any bad conversations, but there's some conversations that you don't want processed. So what B does is it takes a transcript of the conversation that you have and it summarizes it using AI. That gives you the ability to do things like fact check the information. Not quite sure what it's fact checking it against, but fact check it. Or you can process the conversation, which will summarize it and make a list of items that need to be added to your to-do list, for example. And it will give you a summary of your day based on all the conversations you processed. The app is fairly accessible. You can use your Apple Watch to be your B, so you don't need to have a physical device. There currently is not a subscription for the B individuals who purchase the wearable, and I don't know of any details about the subscription for the Apple Watch. The concern is you don't necessarily know where the data is going.
Right.
Yeah, that's always a
big
concern
all the time. Security. Michael, wonderful. We've got other stuff we're leaving on the table, so next time you're here, maybe we'll pick that up, but we'll leave it to you when you want to engage in that. Thanks a lot, pal, as usual.
Thanks a lot. You guys have a great rest of your show.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. You too.
Talking wearables with Michael today on the program, and Michael joins us every couple of weeks. Michael Babcock right here on Kelly and Company. Ramya Nisreen, another great show, fantastic conversations, and the time went whoop, swinging by as we introduce people to the Valentine's bouquet. Ladies, thank you.
It was fun.
Thank you.
On tomorrow's program, we celebrate White Cane Week. How are we going to do that? The Canadian Council of the Blind, this is their initiative, and we're going to do it with National President Jim Tokas as he is with us on the show. We look forward to talking to him and you on the next edition of Kelly and Company. Fedora's off to you, folks. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly and Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.